Hey guys, you know what we're talking about. You saw the title. We're here to talk about Bridgerton, Season 4, Episode 7. We are one episode away from the finale of Bridgerton Season 4. The one thing I do want to point out is that every season they have this opening of a tree. The first episode, they do like a whole montage of this huge tree that's supposed to represent the family tree. After that first episode, they just kind of show the tree in the beginning, there's kind of flashes of it, and normally the tree reflects the mood of the episode. If you remember from episode 6, we ended with the death of John Sterling, Francesca's husband. So the tree for episode 7 is has like cloudy sky behind it and there are no flowers, showing that the tree is also in mourning. So we see Mayfair, we see everyone kind of doing their own thing. It's still light and bright and shiny and all that stuff. But in the Bridgerton home and in the Sterling household, it's a bunch of muted grays and really dark blues and browns. And, I've seen this before, the tradition of when someone has passed away, you take black lace and use it to cover mirrors, to cover pictures of the person. And I know it's some kind of superstitious thing about if you're shielding it, you're like prohibiting their spirit from staying around when it should go to the next level or something. I don't know. But that happened. Francesca has her black veil on to cover her face, and she and Michaela go to the Bridgerton home where they have the funeral. Benedict is giving the remarks on behalf of the family because Anthony's not there. I have no idea what this man is. He was just in the last episode, episode 6, I think. So, like, where the freak did you go that fast? You're the Viscount. So aren't you supposed to be living in this house? Because in the books, as the Viscount, and especially because he has a wife now, the two of them are supposed to be living in a Bridgerton house, and Violet was supposed to go move on and just move to another house. Like, they own several properties, so Violet was supposed to move, while Benedict and Kate ran Bridgerton house. So I don't know where they are. They're not there. And then later on in the funeral scene, we see some flowers delivered, and Violet's like, "Oh, Anthony and Kate sent flowers." No mention of Daphne. You really think if Daphne, the oldest sister, is wherever she is with her husband and her kids, you think she's not at least gonna send a letter when she finds out that her sister's husband died? She first of all wasn't even there for the sister's wedding, but you missed the sister's husband's funeral too. That made no sense. So not to mention her at all, I thought was really weird and strange. I could have made something up. But regardless, they have the funeral. Benedict says some really nice things about John. It's really sad. He talks about John's devotion and his integrity to his family. Um, Francesca, there's been a lot of discussion about her as a character and how she possibly is neurodivergent, right? And I think she could possibly be, but I think for the most part, she's just a little awkward. She definitely does not like a lot of attention on her. That's never been her thing. She likes to be in like small, quiet places. And I can kind of understand that when you go in a house with 7 siblings, it's always loud. Somebody's always in your business. It can be a lot. And so for a funeral, everyone is just there. And obviously, people want to give their condolences and all that stuff. But at some point, it's like, I'm overwhelmed. So she's like fretting over, like, do we have enough biscuits? And is there enough this? Is this okay? Is this okay? Did we do this right? So just kind of make sure everything is perfect for people. And she's getting overwhelmed. So Sophie swoops in and takes her upstairs with the excuse of, I just want to help you, fix your hair, whatever. So they have a nice little tender moment. And Sophie, I love the fact that she's so good at reading people. It's always made me happy. When they finish with the funeral, Michaela is talking to Francesca and she's like, the funeral was fine, but in Scotland, when somebody passes away, we celebrate their death. And it reminded me a lot of just what black families do. I don't know if white families do that, but basically, black family funeral, you have the funeral, you have the repast where we're eating good food. Depending on who the person was, you may go to somebody's house, play some cards, play some music, and it is a way of just kind of celebrating. And I think it's celebrating the life of the person who's gone. But it's also for some families that's the only time we're going to get all of the family members together. So it's like, oh, let's celebrate the fact that we are all here together. Even though it's for a sad occasion, I don't know, next time I'm going to see Uncle so and so or cousin so and so or great aunt whoever. So since we're all here in the same space, let's do something and have fun together. So Michaela basically says she wants to do that. Francesca at first scoffed at the idea, but then she's like, you know what? I need to feel some joy. So in the midst of all this, Francesca has Eloise and Penelope come over and she's talking about all the things she has to do. She's like, I'm staying calm. I'm not crying. I'm not screaming, none of that. She's like, because I'm with child. I need to stay calm for this child that John always wanted. And I make sure I take care of it. And she talks about this correspondence that she has to write, basically writing to all of John's family to let them know that he has passed away. This is what happened. We're so sorry. Whatever the case is. And I'm going to get back to the correspondence in a minute because I think it's very, actually, you know what? I'll talk about the correspondence in the last episode. Um, it has meaning, I promise. We'll talk about it in the next episode. So she's with child. Benedict has been great handling all the business for John's affairs because obviously Francesca's not up to it. And also, this is a very patriarchal society. The men have to be the ones taking care of things. And from John's side of the family, we've only seen his mother and his cousin Michaela. I don't know who the other people are. They didn't really introduce anybody else. I don't know if his father is still living because he wasn't at the funeral. I don't think he was. So Benedict's just taking care of everything. So a solicitor comes, not solicitor, but I guess a guy who works for the crown, and he talks about the importance of succession and how the rules around succession are very clear and finite. Francesca was married to the Earl of Kilmartin, right? Making her Lady Kilmartin. But they did not have any children while he was still alive. So she tells him, like, oh, well, I'm actually with child. He's like, oh, okay, great. But the thing is not just enough that she's with child. She has to actually deliver a boy in order for that boy to have the title of the next Earl of Kilmartin. Without her having this baby, without the baby being a boy, the title would go to the next oldest relative. So that could be a nephew, that could be a little brother that nobody knows about. That could be anybody in the family who literally just has some kind of bloodline, shares some kind of blood with John, who just happens to be a man. Whoever the oldest is, the oldest could be four. That 4-year-old will be the next Earl of Kilmartin. That's the way it's set up. But she says she's with child, and I fully believe that she thinks that she is, but they have to prove it. And that scene just made me, it was so, it reminds me of a clip that I've seen from The Handmaid's Tale of a woman who is essentially, and I haven't seen Handmaid's Tale, but I've read the book. Basically, a woman who's giving birth, and there's like a woman laying behind her, kind of propping her up, and there are people, so many people who are like looking at her who are waiting for this baby to come out. And it's very clinical. It's not really a space of support and love. It's just very clinical. Let's help you get this child out, and now we're gonna do whatever we want to do with the child, and now you're kind of on your own. That wasn't the setup, but the way she was spread out gave me that same vibe. And the whole thing was just, I'm sure, very humiliating and demeaning. She's laying on this bed on her back. Eloise is holding one hand. Violet, her mom, is holding the other hand. And Benedict is in the corner with his back turned. And the doctors are just basically poking and prodding and digging, trying to see if there's a baby in there. And the doctor shakes his head no. So we know, okay, there's not a baby. Now, I don't know if she was ever pregnant or if she had a miscarriage. Like, we don't really know. We just know that she's not pregnant. And I was thinking about that. When somebody passes away, what is worse? Having a baby and knowing that baby will never know its father and having to that see your spouse in that child's face all the time, or not having a baby and not having a piece of your spouse still here. I don't know which feeling is worse, and I guess it depends on what you value more. And for Francesca, it's all about he wanted a baby. That's supposed to be my duty as a wife to give him a child, and not can I give him that. And one thing Lady Danbury said, I just like this line. She said, it's a winding and illogical road to mourn a lost love. I just thought it was so poetic. The writing in the show is so poetic and it's beautifully written. And yeah, so it talks about the rules of succession, her exam. Francesca's not cried this whole time because if you know, British people for the most part are not, the portrayal at least, I won't say in real life, at least on TV, the portrayal is that they don't get very emotional. They got to keep everything in. Everything is very proper. They may raise their voice, but that's kind of pretty much it. Francesca finally breaks down. And it definitely like hit me in my heart. I wanted to cry with her because she basically like broke down in her mom's arms. And she was like, Mom, you think you can relate to me. We are not alike. You had 8 children. Basically, you did your job as a mother. I couldn't give him what he wanted. Like, this is all my fault. Like, he's gone. I don't even have a piece of him anymore. And she just falls and is just looking exhausted. And after she goes to bed, after Francesca goes to bed, Violet's talking to her maid. She's talking about how she feels like she's not helping as much as she can with Francesca. And, all moms kind of have that moment where your child is hurting, they're confused, whatever the case may be, and you're saying what you're supposed to say, you're doing what you think you're supposed to do, but it just never feels like it's enough. And her maid tells her that children don't need you to have all the answers. They just need to know that they're loved. And that hit me in a really special place too. And I needed to hear that as a mommy because love is the one thing I can freely give and I can freely express and share with my babies. I know I'm not gonna give them all the right answers. I don't know the answers for my daggone self. And we're all just, parents especially, we're all just trying to figure it out. We don't really know what we're doing. Every day we just hope we're making the best decision for our kids. So I like that scene. I thought it was really sweet. And I think after that conversation, well, actually, before I get to Violet, we'll finish with Francesca. Francesca finally gives in and decides to have this Scottish funeral, a homegoing service with Michaela and her family. They talk about John. It's the first time that Francesca talks about him in front of other people and says, he was literally my dearest friend. He gave me what I needed at a time when I didn't know I needed it. He fulfilled those parts of me, all this other stuff. And they do a little Scottish jig, and it's really, really sweet. And it's nice, right? So that is how Francesca's story ends. At the Scottish thing, Violet is there. So we're going to go to Violet and what happened with her this episode. So Violet and Benedict are still beefing because Violet is under the impression that this is the same situation that Anthony was in with the opera singer. This is basically just a hookup. It's just somebody you're sleeping with. She don't know that it's love. And so Benedict finally tells her, like, no, I love her. You're a hypocrite. You've always wanted us to have a love match. I have that, and now I can't really have it. Once she sees that Benedict like genuinely loves Sophie, it finally like clicks to her that, oh, this is real for him. She's like, you know what? You're gonna be shunned by society. I can't do anything about the rules. However, your family has your back. No matter what you decide to do, it is not going to stop how much I love you. But there are things that she does bring up that I'm sure Benedict isn't considering. Like he knows, okay, I can't bring her back to society. So she'll stay out in the countryside while I come back. She's like, no, actually you can't come back. You'll be shunned as well. You have to stay over there. And then if you come, of course, you want to see your family, we might be shunned. And that may ruin the prospects for Eloise and for Hyacinth because no man wants to be associated with, drama. And I was like, wow. Never even dawned on me that all this stuff would be impacted. But of course, Violet's been in this world a lot longer than everyone else. She knows how the game is played. But essentially, she gives her love and support to Benedict because she loves him as much as she does. She goes on a public promenade with Marcus, and promenade is really just them walking around the square. It's literally all it is two people walking beside each other or having her arm in his or whatever and literally just walking together. That's like dating or courting. And they agreed to hold off on telling everyone about their engagement because they wouldn't allow people to keep mourning. So they're like, we'll just keep it a secret. I don't want us to be all happy and everybody can't be happy for us because it's so hurting, right? So after all of this stuff, Violet basically is like, you know what? I know you love Sophie. We have your back. So at the Scottish homegoing celebration, Benedict leaves and he realizes I need to go get Sophie now because I love her that much. And Violet pulls him aside and said, I don't know what you were waiting for. Go get her. I have something for you. It's in my top drawer. It was my grandmother's. Basically giving him permission and telling him that I have an engagement ring you can give her. Go with God, right? So that's Violet's story. But Araminta, who was Sophie's stepmother, she she made a comment that, and this is what I'll say, Araminta picks up on things very quickly. She's very astute to people's facial expressions and little things that people say or don't say. She's very smart. People around her aren't as smart because she makes some comment in front of Rosamond and Posey, her daughters, where she says the reason why Benedict didn't want Rosamond is because of Sophie, because she's thinking of Sophie in the silver dress and the fact that Benedict was obsessed with her. The two girls don't know that Sophie was in the silver dress. So I was like, 'cause she let it slip and then she kind of looked guilty, like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Really kind of dumb comment, but I was just like, mm. So, but based off of something Posey said, Araminta's like, huh, Posey knows where she is. Because keep in mind, they were at the Bridgerton house, but Posey made some kind of commotion so that they didn't see that Sophie was there and living there and still working there. So Araminta doesn't know for certain where Sophie is, but she knows that Posey's the only one who's really been nice to her. She's like, Posey probably knows. So she makes up this whole thing like, oh, Rosamond and I are going to go do this. We're going to go shopping for some new dresses at the Modiste, who, by the way, has not been anywhere in this season. Modiste has been in every single season of Bridgerton. She hasn't been in season 4. I don't know if I didn't hear anything about the actress. I don't know if she's coming back or not, but I was like, we haven't seen the woman. Neither here nor there. That's a side note. So she basically makes this ruse of, not ruse, basically making a big deal out of Rosamund and I are going to be out all day. And then she gives this conspiring look to Miss Varley, her housemaid. And basically, you can tell from that, oh, she wants Miss Varley to spy on Posey because she makes a comment before she talks about, oh, we're going to go get dresses. I need to go see the magistrate, which is what they call the police, because Sophie is locked up. I need to go see her in jail. I got to make sure they know what they need to do to get that chick locked up, right? So, of course, Posey is sweet. She is sweet, she is loyal, she is protective, and she just has a really big heart. So Posey's not dumb though. I will say that. So Ms. Riley's like, oh, well, I'm just going to go do some cleaning. Do you need anything? With the hopes that, oh, I'm going to listen at the door and I'm going to hear her dictate a letter to go to Sophie or something. So she's standing outside this door, it's basically the sitting room that Posey is in. And you just see Ms. Riley walking up and down the hall, ear to the door, trying to hear something. And after a while, she calls Posey's name. She walks in and Posey's nowhere to be found. This chick done slid out the window to go, because keep in mind, the Bridgertons live right next door, and that's exactly where Sophie is. So she slides right next door to go tell Sophie what's going on, warn her of everything that's happening. And Sophie tells her, like, I'm about to work with another family. They're leaving for the Americas in 2 days. I just need 2 more days to stay away from her, and then she ain't got to see me ever again. Like, I don't even care anymore. I don't want to see her. She don't want to see me. I'm going to be fine. Suppose he gets back, and I hated this part. Araminta, and it was clear to us, I think, as a viewer, because we can see how evil's not the right word, but I guess we can see how vindictive Araminta has been the entire season. But for Posey, even though she's seen her mother be mean, she's heard her mother say nasty things to her about Sophie and all that stuff. But when you're a daughter and your mother shows you even a slight, tiny bit of kindness when you haven't gotten kindness from her in a long time, you eat it up. Your initial reaction for some people isn't, especially Posey because she's so sweet and I think unassuming, her first reaction isn't to think that her mom is manipulating her or her mom is just playing games with her to get information. We know that because we're the audience and we've seen her this whole time. Posey, though, I think it's like, oh man, she hasn't said a kind word to me in so long. I love this. Because she basically was saying, you remind me of how I was when I was younger. I was full of life and I was full of this, but then I had to grow a little harder because I had to protect my girls. Not really a sob story, but basically trying to connect with Posey. Like, hey, we're not too far apart from each other. I know that I've been busy with your sister. I apologize for that. But, you remind me of how I was, and I just want the best for you girls. Like, this whole story kind of trying to explain all the stuff that she said in none this point. So, of course, Posey, falling into this trap, believes, oh, well, mom, it's okay because Sophie's working with the Bridgertons, but you know what? She's leaving in a couple of days. She's going to go to the Americas. You never have to worry about it again. So you don't have to worry about arresting her. Like, it's not even important and blah, 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 blah. Oh, you know what? I just realized. I said the magistrate. She wasn't going to the magistrate because Sophie hadn't been arrested yet. Not bad. That was a spoiler alert. So sorry. But so Posey basically falls right into Fairman's trap. So Sophie, like I said, fortunately, at the end of this episode, and mind you, she didn't tell anybody she's going to America except for her friend Hazel. She's packing up her stuff, and when she leaves the house, that's when she gets arrested. Arrested, the charges were thievery and impersonating a noble. And of course, Airmans is there. She's gloating. She's so excited about this concept. And of course, Bridgerton is freaking too little, too late because he ran to the house to go propose to the chick. And of course, when he comes out, the buggy that took her away is already long gone because why wouldn't it be, right? So that's what happened in episode 7. So let's talk about some of the things we saw. I like that this episode focused solely on like about 2 or 3 timelines. Not timelines, but storylines. I like that they didn't really touch on the Queen and Lady Danbury this episode. I feel like they already like had shown enough of them. Love them, obviously, but I'm glad that we kind of had more focus on Violet and Benedict and Sophie and Francesca. And Francesca needed her episode, right? So I like the fact that we had that scene with them, or that we had those scenes with her. Some of the scenes that stood out. There's a scene where Benedict is playing the piano to basically lighten the mood and make Francesca feel better. And she's like, "Oh, I didn't know you played." And I'm almost positive that that actor Luke Thompson that he plays the piano in real life. I'm almost positive I heard that, and he does speak French in real life. I do know that. Another thing that I think is interesting is that the whole thing about the Crown's views on succession. This storyline came up in season 3, I believe, with Colin and Penelope, and how they had to make sure that there was a male heir to carry on the Featherington name. So it was a big deal when Penelope and Colin had their son, who is the new Lord Featherington because he's the boy. And I'm like, the Queen, being the strong black woman she is, can't she change that? Like I'm sure it's been a rule for a really long time, but you are the queen of the world, and obviously everyone knows you are in charge of everything because your husband's incapacitated, though no one talks about it, which I love. But like, can't you like change that so it's just the firstborn as opposed to the first boy? I always thought that was kind of strange. Um, I like that We didn't get a lot of Eloise. One thing we did get actually from Eloise, Eloise and Hyacinth. Hyacinth, if you remember correctly, she's the youngest Bridgerton. So when her dad Edmund died, her mother was very pregnant with her. So she's the only child that never got to know her father. And now the whole thing with John. So Hyacinth is like really hit hard by John's death, and she takes all of the stuff that she's bought over the years, that was bought for her over the years, to prepare her for her debut, and she's like throwing them in a pile, ready to throw them in the trash. She tells Eloise, I finally understand what you mean about marriage. It's unnecessary. It's a sham. Blah blah blah. What's the point of getting to know someone, marrying them, and then just for them to die? And obviously, it's a good valid point, but I love that they made that dilemma be Eloise's problem. They did not make that something between her and Violet, the Hyacinth, not Violet, because Violet already got enough stuff going on with Benedict that she has to focus on. But I like that we had that moment with Hyacinth and Eloise because A, Hyacinth has been getting a lot more like script this season because she is growing up. Her and Gregory are growing up, and I appreciate that we're seeing a lot more of her. B, though, Eloise has never been someone who has encouraged other people to get married, right? Has encouraged anyone to consider the idea of matrimony. Like her thing has always been feminism and why should we be shackled by marriage? Like that's our only option. Why can't we go to university and learn something and be a nurse and be a writer? Why can't I do what I want to do? Why do I have to get married? Which is fine, but it's fine to believe that. But she also kind of spewed that to anyone who would listen. So I love the fact that now you have Hyacinth who is basically telling you, you're right, I don't want to do this because I don't want this hurt. But Louise has a decision. She can either be typical Eloise and be like, oh, girl, you're right. You'll be expenses together. Or she can be like, you know what? What I'm saying is still right for me. That doesn't mean it's right for you. I know you very well. You've always talked about this. This is something you actually actively want. So even though it would be a risk, anything's a risk in this world. And yes, there's potential that something could happen, but really, like, you should at least explore that because that's something I know that you want to do. And I don't want you to give that up just because you're afraid. And I love that piece of growth that we've seen. And we've seen a couple times of Eloise this season where we can see her growing a little bit. And it's not so blatant as like, oh, Eloise has completely changed her mind. She did a complete 360. She hasn't. She's still very firm in her beliefs, and she hasn't once said anything about I changed my mind. I want to get married. That has not happened. I think if that happened, viewers would be really pissed off because we know that's not in tune with her as a character. So I like that it's been more subtle. It's just her understanding the other side of things, understanding why people want to get married, having a better understanding of her friends who have really wanted to be on the marriage mart. And so I like that for her. And again, as a viewer, I think we're easing our way into her kind of shifting and changing and maturing a little bit. And I can appreciate that. Other than that, I mean, yeah, other than that, I did like this episode. I'm glad that we're almost through it because I get so anxious, like, oh, what's gonna happen next? Oh, because I read all the books, but I read them so long ago that I kind of have a vague idea of what happened. Actually, take that back. I have an idea of what happens with them. I know what happens with Eloise. I don't remember anything about Gregory and Hyacinth's story. Like, not even, well, actually, I know a tiny bit of Hyacinth. I know nothing of Gregory's. Like, not a single solitary thing. So hopefully they get picked up because right now they're only renewed through season 5. They need at least 2 more seasons to get through Gregory and Hyacinth. So I'm hoping that they give us 2 more seasons. I'm still hoping for a spinoff. Queen Charlotte, I think, was fantastic. I do not think we need a season 2 of that. I think it ended perfectly. That was an amazing spinoff. We need a spinoff, and I've been saying this for so long. So Netflix, I hope you guys are listening. Someone at Netflix, someone who watches me, send this to Netflix. This part. There needs to be a spinoff that is a prequel of Violet and Edmund. Violet, this is the first, I feel like this is the first season where we've seen Violet as like a little girl in Queen Charlotte. But this is the first season where she's talked to Benedict about the kind of young lady that she was when she was dating Edmund, when she was just courting in general. We have not seen that part of Violet. And I think Edmund, we hear about him through stories occasionally, through Benedict and through Violet and occasionally through Benedict, but it's not really a lot. So it'd be nice if we could actually see Edmund. Like we don't really know who he was as a person. We know he's his great father. We know that it was a love match with him and Violet, but we don't know anything beyond that. So it'd be nice to see what kind of trials they faced, um, and just like what that marriage was like, right? And how she was as a young lady and how he was as a young man. What is his family like? We know nothing about his family. And even with her family, we know that she had a mom who was racist and a dad who liked the chocolate because he had an affair with Lady Danbury back in the day. That's pretty much all we know. So I'm pitching Netflix that the next spinoff, before you do season 5, do a spinoff about Violet and Edmund. I don't care what you call it the beginning, Bridgerton beginning, whatever you want, but I think there should be a spinoff with it. But those are my 2 cents. We have one more episode to go. I can't wait to discuss it with you guys and give you my predictions on who the lead is going to be for season 5. Because I feel like there have been some hints, and I feel like other seasons past, I haven't picked up on any hints. I ain't picked up on nothing. I ain't see nothing. I ain't get it. This time, I hope I'm right. But I will see you guys next time. Comment below what you thought of the episode. What do you think about my idea of the prequel? Like, I think the fans want to see, right? So let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you later.